G'day punters. I've been a little bit, had a little bit of a break from doing the videos on a Monday for over the last month. I had an office move, and then we had the Warrnambool Carnival where I had a little bit of a freshen up. So over the winter, I probably won't do them as regularly as we did over the spring and the summer, but I'll try and do one or two of these ones a month, these solo ones, and get together with special guests and DK and others. And try and catch up with Ralphie if he's got time for us these days with his, very busy man these days, Ralphie, with his Crawfurdy podcast and all the work he's doing in Vince. But I'm sure we'll catch up with Ralphie at some stage over the winter and try and bring as much good info to you as we can. So I really felt compelled to do a show today, really, because I had a couple of just fantastic emails from a couple of my customers over the past few weeks that provided me with an opportunity to talk about some what I think are good things, and hopefully the punters out there will get something out of them. So the first one was from Matt. Now I'm just going to paraphrase it a little bit, because I didn't actually talk to Matt about using it on the show, but I'm sure he's happy for me to talk about it. So Matt was a recreational punter, keen punter that spent 10 years, like really interested in the sport, but just typically sort of be making regular deposits into his accounts, and really enjoyed it. Had mixed success, but really it was it was more about enjoying the sport, and as I said, making regular deposits. So it means you're not winning on a regular basis. So. And I sort of wanted to talk through what's happened with Matt, and then sort of look at it from an industry perspective, and what the administrators of the sport could take out of an example like Matt. So last year he contacted me and wanted to try my services. The first time he ever got a set or gone to a service provider to get some information. And to his credit, he's done it all in the right way. The first step he did was got my stuff, and he organised himself a bank. Now, it was probably a bit smaller than I'd suggest, but it's really about what he had in his betting accounts. And if that things hadn't gone well, he would have had a way of topping it up. So, but the point is, he had an organised bank to start with of 100 units, and what Matt did was he really stuck at it. He was prepared to have the discipline to ride the ups and the downs, and just go through the process and trust it. Now, initially, I should say, after a couple of weeks, Matt did send me an email because he's a bit worried about missing the prices and some of the horses and stuff like that. But that's just natural anxiety that people have when this is the first time they try, something like a service like mine. And it's important that prior to using whoever service you use, that you've done your due diligence and you're confident that you're getting what you're expecting. So, but in any event, one of the first things Matt did was to take my advice in terms of keeping really good records of all your bets. So that's a really key, important first step, because as things go, it'll give you clarity on the trajectory of what you're doing and whether you're on the right track or not, and it'll also allow you to manage the ups and the downs. So the key planks there are having an organised bank and being prepared to accept that it's not a straight line type investment. There are ups and downs to ride. So then, fortunately we've had a pretty good period since Matt's been on board, and his bank steadily grew. And as that's happened, he's increased the dollars per unit a little bit, and it's got to the point now where his actual initial starting bank has grown 4 times, and he's now got 200 units in his betting accounts, which gives you a much better buffer. And that's like the largest drawdown I've ever had in 10 years of my own betting is 250 units. So that's a pretty safe position to be in, and it means it gives Matt the opportunity to be in the game long term. So that's a really good achievement on his part. The more important part, and the part of Matt's email that I really enjoyed, was that he's taken a lot of the principles that he's gathered from getting my service and watching the videos and other things he's picked up in the industry, and he's applied it to his own betting in Queensland. He's from Queensland, and he's set himself up, and he's been working hard on doing his own form and using those principles to manage his own betting up there. And the growth of his bank and his own betting is spectacular. It's a great achievement for him, and I'm absolutely delighted to read it. And so when you look back at it all and you add it all up, Matt's gone from a guy that was sort of regularly losing, probably turning over, let's just, working round figures, somewhere between 50 and 100,000 a year. So the benefit, and remembering that most of the jurisdictions get the majority of their funding from turnover on betting. There are some of the jurisdictions that have a component of taxing the operators on gross profit, but the majority of it comes from turnover. And so Matt's gone from a turnover punter of, let's just say, 50,000 a year to one that's well on his way now to be in excess of $500,000 a year and on his way to turning over $1 million a year. I mean, his value to the increase is increased tenfold. And I just wonder if the administrators think about that and do they put any thought into trying to create those type of punters, rather than just always trying to find new people. Are they trying to put any resources into education and trying to get punters more engaged, have a more deeper engagement? Because as Matt pointed out to me, punting is so much more fun and rewarding when you're taking a long-term approach and you're winning, on a fairly regular basis. I mean, for me to hear that, to know that I've played a part in that journey for Matt is that just gives me great satisfaction. So. I just wish that the administrators would think that through and just think, rather than spending all of our time arguing about whether the Everest is a Group 1 race or not, into putting some time into giving punters more resources, more education, and try and get their engagement, increase their engagement, and if they're able to protect their bank and win more regularly, their turnover will increase dramatically, like as in the example that Matt's provided. So well done to you, Matt, and thanks I really appreciate that email that you sent in, and hopefully it's there's an example there that other punters can follow. And along the same lines, I've mentioned Brian many times. He's a regular correspondent. I look forward to getting his emails every week. I have a lot of guys that send me regular emails, both the Rays, a couple of Rays, and a few other guys. I appreciate all that feedback. And if anyone else out there's got stuff they'd like me to discuss on one of these shows or with other guests, please just shoot them in, and we'll see what we can do. So Brian just raised some really great points in his most recent email. It was about the weekend's racing at Caulfield, and the theme of his email was about backing the right horses at the right prices. So as it turned out, I had a pretty solid day there on Saturday. I identified 3 horses that were nice overs in the early market: Jaws of Steel, Innkeeper, and Our Peaky Blinders, and sort of suggested to my customers that they take the early prices there for good solid bets. And Brian just sort of talked through in his email about some of the things that drove the shortening of those prices. Now in the case of Innkeeper, it's a bit tricky because there were late scratchings there, but the early price was still by far the best price available. And it had a lot to do, as Brian pointed out, with Innkeeper being drawn outside its 2 main opponents in that race, which were Wise Hero and initially Princeton Spirit, although Princeton Spirit was a late scratching. And a lot of what I do is about trying to identify those edges that the big teams will find. I'm trying to do it ahead of them if possible. So one of the opportunities I've got to do is walking the track. And I went out and walked the track at Caulfield on Friday, and I was fairly convinced that lanes 4 to 8 were going to be the best. And as the day went on, well, I felt that the inside lanes were going to be a liability if they raced on them. So the only way that they weren't going to be is if the jockeys avoided them very early and then the track evened up later. But as it turned out, for the first half of the card, the jockeys stayed in formation with horses on the rails holding those positions. So as the card went on, that those inside lanes did deteriorate, and lanes 4 to 8 became more and more dominant. So the idea is to try and understand what drives those strong market moves on those favourite runners, and where possible trying to get ahead of the game. Now, Saturday was a good example where it worked out well for us. There are other days when it doesn't work out so well, and as Brian pointed out to me in his email, he said it's good to make a lot of mistakes and still be ahead of the game, still be winning. And I think being prepared to make mistakes is a really important aspect of punting. You've got to be prepared to take a position, and it's difficult when all of those early markets, the market percentage is in the 125 to 130 range, so you're sort of swimming against the tide a little bit. But for you to be in a position to think through what those big teams might do and what horses you need to identify in those early markets, you have to be prepared to make a mistake. And you know, I regularly back horses in those early markets, and they end up running longer. But for the most part, I think if I assess the price of the winners I back, I often take overs in the early market. So it's not a perfect science. It's there's a lot of judgment in it, and you have to be prepared to make mistakes. But it feels good when you get it right. Like we certainly, me and my customers, a lot of us took 380 and plus our peaky blinders with a really strong bet, and to see that horse go around even money and win comfortably, that's one of the great feelings you get in punting when you've got it all right and it all works out, and you get paid. You know, sometimes you don't get paid, and you have to be prepared to accept that if you're regularly backing the right horses at the right prices, that the results will fall for you, and sometimes you don't get the result. There was just one other thing I want to discuss. It's not come from any particular feedback I've had, but just a few customers I've heard people talking about races where they've done the form and got the race wrong, and they get very frustrated and tend to want to just throw that out. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think one of the great opportunities in punting is when you've done the form for a race, and the result may or may not have gone your way, but you can look at the race and try and identify parts of it that are going to hold you in good stead going forward. Just being involved in a race and having bet in it gives you an understanding at a level that is beyond if you're just reviewing a race. And there can be little pieces of gold that can come out of it. There was a recent example at Pakenham. There was a race I did. I'd only bet very small in the race. I think I might have chopped out in the race. Lord Sundowner won the race anyway. But the point was, because I'd been involved in the race from a preview point of view, and then watched the race, able to review it, and there were some good aspects of that race, I felt there were horses that, if they stayed at provincial grade, could improve at their next runs. And we've had reasonably good weeks over the last 2 weeks, and a large part of that were horses out of that race. So they were Knick Knack was one of them, and the other one was See Me Fly, which won at Bendigo. So the point I'm trying to make is, punters, that once you've immersed yourself in a race, made a financial commitment to that race, it gives you an edge over the punters that are just reviewing. And I think you should always try and use that to your advantage, and try not to let the emotions of the game take you offline too much. Anyway, that's it for today's show. Hopefully I'll be back either next week or the week after with a special guest, and we'll go from there, punters. Cheers.